And right now, on the phone with Senator Joe Griffo joining us. Senator, how are you?
Morning, Dave, Sam, and Jay. I feel like I could be part of your morning crew.
Yeah. I know. Yesterday at the Veterans Outreach Center, and, of course, now on the phone. We can't get rid of you for crying out loud, but we love talking to you all the time. Hey, a couple of interesting things before we get into the meat and potatoes here. First of all, the folks at dictionary.com have come up with new words that they're adding officially to our lexicon. One of them is MX. Instead of MR or MRS or Ms., instead of Mr. or Mrs., it's MX to designate somebody of no specific gender. I've never heard of an MX before, or a mix. Have you ever seen that anywhere?
I have not. I'm just hearing about it for the first time from you, Dave.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, I'd like to have a mix call us or text us on the show. And then the other thing of interest, Senator, is the most annoying types of airline passengers. They did a study on Expedia, and they determined that the rear seat kicker is the most annoying type of an airline passenger. They've stereotyped them, folks that travel a lot. Do you travel on airlines much when you go out and about?
I do, and it's kind of interesting. I've had that experience before, and then there's always the person that's in front that comes all the way back, and you may get an occasional obnoxious person who's had a few too many cocktails on the plane.
Yes, those are all on the list, sir. So
it sounds like Family Feud or something, you know, how many people said.
That's right. That's right. On another topic of interest, big news for the Culways and other folks who have afflictions that they could benefit from medicinal marijuana. They're actually waiting for us in the studio here. They're going to come in just a few minutes, but I know they're very excited about the bill for emergency use that Governor Cuomo passed yesterday.
Yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised yesterday because from our initial conversations, we were concerned that the governor might not sign the bill. I really want to applaud Julie McKenzie and Pat Reed, Julie's mom and Mackenzie's grandmom. They're going to be in the studio with you, so they'll have an interesting story to tell. I think it's just compelling when you look at a situation like Julie McKenzie's and what Julie and Pat have done on her behalf. It's really personalized this so people get to see an actual situation and the challenges that that family faces. So the idea here was the original Compassionate Care Act set the regulations and controls the sale, certification, and use. And they're on track still for next year. But we were concerned with some of these individuals, particularly youngsters like Mackenzie, who have these unique challenges and seizures. And if there's an opportunity to deal with that and to make not only ease the pain but to end some of this, then we wanted to expedite access to that. So Chairman Gottfried of the Health Committee in the Assembly was a sponsor there. I know Assemblymember Dissy co-sponsored it. I led it in the Senate. It wasn't easy because the original sponsor of the Compassionate Care Act, Senator Savino, did not support this. So we had more of a debate and discourse in the Senate, but ultimately was passed in June. And we're very pleased that the governor has signed a bill. Essentially what this will do now is to require the Department of Health to create an expedited path, which would certify patients for medical marijuana use if the patient's condition is progressive or degenerative, if there's a risk to health and life. So this program now would allow the Department of Health to register, and this is where we're hopeful because we have to work out some technical issues and logistics right now, but we believe that allowing them to register additional organizations to produce the medical marijuana as soon as practical, to issue new regulations that could waive some of the controls that already exist, that were the hallmark of the original Compassionate Care Act, and it gives preference to organizations that are registered or applicants that are producing the marijuana in other states. So if we have somebody that's been identified here that's already doing it somewhere, we may be able to expedite that and allow that access now. So that someone like Mackenzie will be able to really get something to help her as she experiences her seizures. So that's the essence of it. There are obviously more things attached. The feds have oversight and jurisdictional control, so all this has to be compliant with federal law. We had some issues with the feds in the past where we sought waivers in order to let people use marijuana that was being produced legally in other states, medicinal marijuana. So those things will all be worked out, but I'm hopeful as a result of the governor's signature of this bill that now people like Mackenzie will be able to get access and use this and not have to wait till sometime next year.
It's interesting. I have friends from college who have been running dispensaries and grow farms in Connecticut, legal ones, for many years successfully there. It would be interesting to see if some of those out-of-state dispensaries would be utilized by some folks like the McKenzie, like the Culways here in New York State, to travel outside of the state to receive the treatment. And is that some of what you're talking about with regard to logistics?
Yeah, that and federal law, too. We have to be careful and comply. As I said, I was hoping that the feds would be a little more lenient here and exercise some flexibility. So we're going to look at that with our lawyers. We're going to talk to the governor's office, the Department of Health, and I'm hopeful that as a result of our conversations, the idea is how do you now have the Department of Health with this new path and this expedited path issue whatever regs they need to or register any organization, and then as a result of that, allow the medicinal marijuana to be available.
Well, with that, Governor or Senator, the
Is
Assembly.
That a Freudian slip?
Yeah, it was. You're
Maybe
on your way.
Someday, who knows?
You're on your way. Richard Godfrey, the Assemblyman who has sponsored this in the Assembly. I think it's interesting to point out that he is the Health Committee chair. So he feels that this is a good practice to go forward. So I think that's interesting and needs to be said. And another interesting point I think that needs to come out also, that in one of your bills, you highlight the 5 organizations that in July that were able to get the dispensary locations announced, and they're going to be the ones named. But in the bill that you have proposed here, the idea of maybe opening that back up to look at other areas and other dispensaries to come to fruition as well.
That's an excellent point, Jay. And yes, that's the point I made earlier about registering additional organizations and issuing any new regs that would identify and give these organizations the opportunity. And I know we had someone that was applying here in Utica, actually, and there might be, I can't say specifically or with assurances, but there might be the opportunity now for some of those organizations to come back into play too right now, which would, I know the community had expressed support for, so that may come into play again also.
Great. Talking to Senator Joe Griffo on the Talk of the Town, 100.7 FM, WUTQ.
And, with your bill here, the 2-part bill that you had put forth, it's interesting that this is coming into fruition before the January launch. And you mentioned the idea that we didn't know if this was going to happen. Does it have an effect on the program itself?
No, it will not in any way do anything that jeopardizes the existing Compassionate Care Act relative to the technical elements or the legal elements. So all this does is really create that pathway for the opportunity for expedited access. So I think that in the end, I'm hopeful that they'll continue to stay on course. The Department of Health has said that they still are on course, but as you know, nothing is guaranteed or assured, and things could happen that cause delays. So I think this bill, as a result of that, I'm glad the governor agreed and saw that essence of what we were trying to accomplish here, give to the Department of Health the additional tools and authority to be able to ensure that people like Mackenzie, and when they come in, I think you'll have an interesting conversation with Julie and Mackenzie and Pat, that she will have this chance that they've really fought hard to try to accomplish and achieve.
And I know the governor was cautious on staying within, abiding by the U.S. the Justice Department to ensure that the program doesn't bring up the federal government's imposing on this program. Is there specific guidelines that we need to look at to ensure that the federal government won't do that?
Yeah, we're going to leave that up to the lawyers right now. And I just believe that there was an amendment, a ruling that the Department of Justice pulled or issued, I should say, that was called the Cole decision, and this will be implemented in compliance with all of federal law. But as I said, it also gives us some flexibility here, and I'm going to be relying upon the health care professionals as well as the attorneys now to figure out how do we get to what this bill was intended to accomplish.
And I think the other question is timeline. How soon could this come to fruition?
Well, we're hoping to move as soon as possible. I'd like to see it done in the next week or so, but we'll look at realistically what can be accomplished when we discuss this, as I said, with the experts in law and health. But I'm hopeful. The idea here is that they don't wait much longer, and that we can see this done hopefully before the holidays here.
Senator, on another topic, we'll have a guest in the 9 o'clock hour, a dairy farmer from Vernon who wrote an editorial this past Sunday into the OD about the minimum wage hike, and he was kind of concerned about that as it might affect adversely farmers across New York State. I think your name was mentioned in the article there in the editorial by this particular farmer, saying he hoped that you would get that message and bring it across to the state. I don't know if you had any reaction about that.
I always enjoy when people call us directly, but I didn't have a chance to read that, so I appreciate you bringing it to my attention. But this is going to be an interesting debate, and I think from the very beginning what we've said is I'm willing to listen to all individuals. We believe that people should earn a living wage, but we also have to be mindful of the economic impact. And if you are put in a position where you see people losing jobs, if you see businesses closing or costs increasing to consumers, all of this needs to be taken into consideration. So I'm hopeful that there will be a good dialogue, and we will look at this in an objective way and evaluate and examine it accordingly, not only as a political proposal, because sometimes I'm not sure how numbers are picked, like who picks a number and what does that number mean. So this will be a major point of debate and discussion when we go back to Albany at the first of the year. And I'm going to listen to everyone that's going to be involved in this as we try to ultimately determine what course of action may be taken as we move forward.
Great. Thanks for your time, Senator, as always.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, Dave, Jay, take care. See you, Sam.
She's in the newsroom, but she'll be able to hear you soon when we rewire her studio, too. We're still working on some technical issues here, Joe. Thanks for bearing with us. Appreciate it.
Well, you got a great studio. Thanks for what you guys do.